not because Barth Nnaji was not eminently qualified, he was very qualified, or that he was not doing a good job prior to uh, his resignation or forced resignation. In certain societies, I think he would have been better used in actually the implementation of the roadmap, because we are talking about an era where foreign interest is dominating many of the reform programs, and this is one area where we have a national who is not only competent but has also proven it in projects he has handled. Government should have reserved a place and a role for him to play in grounding. As Simon said, he has invested deeply in this sector. And if you are privatizing such a national asset of importance, you would want your national competent in that area to actually be involved in it. The issue of setting up regulatory framework is one, you have 1,001 consultancy firms that can give you, but in fact, you don't need to. You can download a template on how to regulate privatization down on the internet and customize it by, putting issues that reflect it. But then the critical area is in implementation, where he had distinguished himself. If you ask me, this job, we have good practices in this country that we don't learn from. We have the privatization or the auctioning of the GSM licenses, which NS Ndukwe did very well because he was not a participant in the telecom sector. And that is why it's one of the fastest growing, if not the most in this country. Why are we not learning from that? I think what happened, whether he resigned or he was forced to resign, is that a lot of controversies have been thrown up by the workers who, in my view, are actually being used by vested interests. They are very compromised in the whole process. They round the sector aground, and they actually have no moral right. Though I do recognize that the majority of them in the sector, who are lower and middle, may have not played a role. But I think the thing could have been going, the minister should have been relieved of that responsibility of dealing with it. If the primary assignment here is to regulate this privatization and preside over it, we should have found another process of dealing with the labor issues, which eventually was what bogged him down. And at the end of the day, the larger goal of pursuing this roadmap appeared to have been lost.
Yeah, even though he was bogged down by that, there is a marked improvement in power nationwide now, isn't there?
Yeah. I was just passing by a petrol station a few days ago, and I saw that diesel price is now, is it 145 naira? And I can't remember the last time I bought diesel, actually. There has been an improvement. Well, we can easily say, well, this is the rainy season, so the dams are working at full strength. But let's put our mind back to last year. This time last year, there was rain, but there was no power.
There was no power.
2 years ago, there was rain, there was no power. So I think Professor Nnaji has actually made a big impact in the industry. I mean, he's globally renowned, so it's not like you just brought somebody who didn't know what he was doing into the sector.
Now, the issue of the Manitoba, the guys the Canadian firm that got the contract for one of the companies, that was a big issue. But the minister had come here and said that he did not know anything about how Manitoba got the job. It was another body that did the shortlisting and the selection of Manitoba. What is your take on that?
Well, I would want to give him a benefit of the doubt. If you are doing a bid that is closed bid and you had the vice president as the national chairman of the privatization process, it might well be that he didn't know the process leading to the final selection. But the question which returns me back to what I said earlier is that being a player and being a regulator, no matter what you do the perception is out there that nobody, and because we're also operating in an environment where things have been done in this country and people are aware of it, and people will tell you, mean a minister of power will be there and that process went through up to eventual selection and he didn't have a role, he didn't, I think we are dwelling in the realm of perception here, which should have been avoided if he was not appointed. Because once you have there, all somebody needs to do to throw spanner in the whole process is he's a participant. It's like being an umpire in a football game. You are a player, and that would, resonate with everybody.
This whole privatization exercise, the impression we have got from the electricity workers is that they are against it. But I have spoken to some people in the higher cadre, and they are all for this privatization because they see NEPA as too big, it's unwieldy, so it's difficult to control. The smaller units would make them even earn more money based on their qualifications. Why do you think that all the junior workers were so against privatization, even though a lot of people accept that this is the way to go, using the telecom industry as an example?
Yes, like he said, vested interests. It is possible, and I believe strongly that, you see, when you have a government body that collects subvention, that gets subvention on a regular basis, there are some people who are in charge of dispensing this subvention. The moment you privatize this unit, there's no subvention. You have to go out and make your money and run your company. So the people at the top will tell you, I don't know anything about it, but perhaps even the junior workers who are fighting it are actually being pushed. I mean, we've seen things happen in this country where it is even the head of an agency that will be pushing the junior workers to go on the rampage. And there is a fear that, well, there may be genuine fears that we are going to lose our jobs. The more qualified ones, the more competent ones know that I have a certificate that I can work with in any of these companies. I mean, it's like when NITEL was being, when GSM, the telecom sector was being liberalized. The ones who were engineers and I knew that they were going to get better jobs with MTN and certain.
All the rest of them.
But the junior ones were no, where do we belong? So it could be a factor, vested interest. It could be a factor of fear of the unknown. Some people fear losing their jobs. So it could be a combination of those factors.
Okay, now Professor Nnaji has gone. He seems to have been their headache. For me, it was very personalized. The struggle was very personalized. Okay, so the enemy, in quotes, has gone. What next?
Well,
do you think?
I do hope that the president will keep to his promise that the roadmap will be implemented and that all the technical agreements they have signed leading up to the time of Nnaji's exit will be respected, because any attempt to restart the whole process again will take us about 2 years, to get to where we are now. And after 2013, nobody will be talking about reform again. They are going into election.